Welcome to New York Got Game.
As we come to the end of July, I got another edition of New York Got Game for you, and it's the middle of the offseason for the Knicks, so things are quieting down. Summer League is over, but we still have things to talk about regarding the New York Knicks, and this episode, we're going to talk a lot about some players that are extension eligible and what the Knicks should do about that. We've got ourselves a fantastic guest returning to the show. We're not going to waste any time, so let's get right into it.
The Knicks are heating up.
Okay, we're breaking down some big questions surrounding the Knicks' next moves, extension decisions for Mikal Bridges, Mikal Robinson, and Karl-Anthony Towns, Mike Brown's bench changes, and what to do with that final roster spot. My guest this week is a returning favorite to New York Got Game. He's a passionate Knicks voice, a hoops thinker, and contributor to the Knick of Time Show. It's my guy, Lee Escobado. Joins me now. Lee, what's going on, man?
Double blessings to you, man. Always a pleasure to be here to represent my Knick of Time family, Ebony, Phil, Fritz, B, Ryan, Jay Ellis. It's a great time to be alive, and I'm glad to be talking with you.
Oh, man, always a pleasure to be talking to you, and you're right. Great time to be alive. Shout out to the Knick of Time Show crew. Lee, let's start here, because there's some interesting things at where we are here in the offseason around the Knicks. Let's start with Mikal Bridges. He's eligible for an extension for up to 4 years and $156.1 million, but he hasn't signed one yet. Why do you think the Knicks are waiting here to sign Mikal Bridges?
Well, in the Leon Rose era, we've seen extensions be delayed before.
True.
With past guys who have been on the roster. And I think it's part of Brock Aller as the person in charge of strategy that it's probably around the cap, maintaining the cap and filling out the roster. I think more than likely once maybe the rookies are signed and that last free agent, veteran free agent, I think then you'll start seeing conversations happen. But I'm not worried because Leon's always handled these extensions as a pathway to an upgrade. If you think about IQ and RJ, they were upgraded for OG. Julius Randle was upgraded for Karl-Anthony Towns. The one exception, Obi Toppin, who was traded before an extension for a measly 2 second-round picks. You know, that might be the one stain on Leon's record. But the likelihood is that all three of the players that need extensions are extended and then maybe traded soon after for another upgrade. But I mean, as someone who's lived through the Isaiah Thomas, Phil Jackson, Steve Mills era, Leon Rose was privy to all of those eras because he was the agent for Curry and Ronaldo Balkman, Andre Bargnani, Carmelo Anthony. He knows what not to do. So I think once Mike Brown is acclimated, the rest of the roster is filled out, maybe 1 or 2 extensions are signed. I mean, to me, that's going to be a resume for Executive of the Year.
All right. Oh, resume for Executive of the Year. Lee putting that out here already. Look, Knicks have built a good team. It'll be interesting to see some pretty good signings this offseason. We'll see how that goes. Now, from a roster building standpoint, would you personally lock up Bridges now, or do you think the team is wise to wait and see how he fits with this core first? And by this core first, I mean he's played with the guys for a year, but this team playing now in Mike Brown's system, how he fits there, do you think it's wise that they wait and see how he fits into this new coaching staff with the core of players that are here on the Knickerbockers roster?
Re-sign him now. I mean, we know how he fits. It's like a glove. He had crucial defensive stops in the playoffs, specifically to close out playoff games. I think he's the third most talented player on this roster. And, I mean, you know me better than anyone when it comes to Tom Thibodeau. I respected him, but I never liked him. And his biggest misuse of that roster he had last year was Bridges. And the expectation from what I'm hearing from other insiders have told me is that Bridges is probably going to be used lesser in a more free-flowing role. What I mean by that is less time guarding the point of attack, fighting through screens, using so much energy on the defensive end. I think there'll be someone else in that starting lineup that takes that pressure off of him, which allows him to play more as a 3 and more of a free safety on defense, saving his energy from both sides of the ball so he can naturally be a 3-level scorer. The game is won on the perimeter, and Bridges is one of the best perimeter players in the NBA, so you do re-sign him. I also got tired of seeing him regulated at corners. He was either attacking closeouts or taking threes. I want to see stretches where the offenses ran through him, Brunson is off ball or on the bench, and I think by doing that, it'll be a more effective and a more dangerous Mikal Bridges.
I happen to agree with you, and I have this feeling that Mikal Bridges is going to have a really good season here. I know it was up and down, as you know. We talked about it a ton through the season with the Knicks fan base. Until the playoffs, he showed his worth on defense. But I just have this feeling in Mike Brown's system, he's going to thrive really well and be comfortable. I just have a good vibe about it this year. We will see. I'm with you. Just give him that extension now. You gave up a lot to get him. Not that that should matter, but I think he proved his worth in the playoffs. Give him that extension now. Let's shift to Mitchell Robinson. The Knicks, they're in a tough spot with the aprons, and we know how well Leon Rose, Brock Aller, they've managed the cap. They're also in a tough spot with the aprons and big man depth. Mitch is eligible to sign an extension up to 4 years worth just over $81 million, Lee, which would lock the Knicks' longest tenured player into a deal through the 2029-2030 season. So my question here is, should they consider extending him or moving him at some point? Because he feels like the Knicks player on this roster that's maybe most likely potentially to be moved, if he would be moved. But what do you think they should do with Mitchell Robinson?
Never trade Mitch.
Never.
Never.
All right.
I say that, and I also recognize that Mitch has to be humble to an extent and understand that his injury history, his one-way impact, and his deficiencies in passing, on-ball skill, free throws, that all affects his extension value. If Mikal takes the full extension, there probably is enough money left to sign Mitch to a deal that makes Mitch happy. And as my buddy Fritz Alexander said on his NBA economy show, the Knicks might not be opposed to going to second apron for a team they really love and they feel can win championships. And championships are won on the defensive side of the ball. There's maybe a handful of players in the NBA who bring that defensive potency of Robinson. You do not trade that level of production, especially not in the name of offense. And while I believe Cat will be the starting center on opening night, he's imperfect, especially defensively. That makes Mitch crucial. Whether it's a backup or a front court partner in a twin tower lineup, Mitch has won his playoff games and even series with his defense. You think about Philly and Cleveland a couple of years ago. And to be perfectly honest, I actually judge a Knicks fan's intelligence and whether I want to talk ball with them based on how they value Mitchell Robinson.
Well, let me ask you this, because you said never trade him, but do you extend him? Do you extend him and potentially go into that second apron, especially if you do extend Mikal Bridges? Do you think they should give him an extension?
Without a doubt. Mitch is my top 3 favorite player on the team. He is one of the best defensive players in the NBA. He is a player that you go into a second apron for because, once again, defense wins championships, and he's the best defender on the team.
All right, there you go. You heard it from Lee. He is all in on Mitchell Robinson. Let's talk about the other big man on the team. You just mentioned him, Karl-Anthony Towns. He's eligible for an extension as well. Should the Knicks even consider giving him an extension, or would that handcuff them, too much financially here, because he's already making a lot of money, right? He's northwards of $55 million, a lot of money for the next couple of years. His contract ends with a $61 million deal in his final year. So an annual salary that he'll get paid in the final year of his contract if he's not extended. Do you extend Karl-Anthony Towns here?
I don't think there's any reason to do that right now. Like, let him learn it over the next couple of seasons. You said he's locked in for another 3. In my opinion, he needs to show he can play smarter defense and reduce his foul rate to justify a similar or slightly higher salary. I also think that he should consider a hometown discount. This would be his first contract signed with the Knicks, and almost everyone has signed a discount, including the captain, Jalen Brunson. Now, Towns is currently making around $50 million a year, making him one of the highest paid players in the league, the highest paid on the team. And offensively, he's earned that amount. But both ends of the floor matter. And he's shown an inability last season to read defensive coverages properly. And he got lost a lot last year and over relying on drop coverage, which hurt the whole team. And it expended the energy of OG Anunoby. I expect a higher switching scheme under Mike Brown and a bit more zone, maybe some zone period. So that should help improve Cat's defensive acumen.
I'm with you on this. I think he's got to show a little bit more, especially on the defensive end, to justify extension right now. And not saying that he doesn't deserve one eventually, but I'm with you on the fact that there's no need to rush this right now. So that brings me to my next thing here, Lee. If the Knicks, let's say they only have the flexibility to extend one of the 3 guys we just talked about before the start of next season, so Bridges, Robinson, or Towns, who should they prioritize and why, in your opinion?
That's a really tough question. I would probably lean toward Mikal Bridges. Cat still has 3 years left. Bridges and Mitch only have 1 this upcoming one. I think Bridges should be the priority because of what it took to get him. His starting 2-way role and the finals experience with the Suns really make him a pivotal piece. He's also a potential trade piece, right? If having him a higher salary, he can match other higher salary targets in a potential upgrade. But there aren't very many upgrades over Mikal Bridges. Again, if Leon Rose opts for that, the 3, I think Bridges deserves a raise the most. And oddly enough, he has the highest untapped ceiling especially under Mike Brown's new offense. I think he'll have the biggest jump, as you do, in production. Not necessarily at 10 more points, but I think higher efficiency and more on-ball touches, really scoring as the hub of the offense, not just attacking closeouts and shooting threes. A broader shot diet and yeah, just more opportunities being the focal point. I think he becomes a bona fide third option we need to win a chip.
All right, so going with Mikal Bridges, the guy that you would give the extension to first. We'll see if that gets done. Let's move over to coaching here, Lee, because with Mike Brown now in as head coach, last week we saw Stephen Bondi, my colleague, he reported that Andy Greer, Dicey Hashimoto, Daniel Brady, and Othello Harrington, they will not be returning to the Knicks next season as assistant coaches. What do you make of these moves, and who would you like to see Brown add as an associate head coach to the staff, especially with the news we just got yesterday, Saturday, for us recording this, that Pablo Prigioni turned down the Knicks and will stay in Minnesota. Who would you like to see the Knicks add as an associate head coach to help Mike Brown?
The guys that kicked out the door, I thought needed to be kicked out. Thought there were too many Tibbs enablers during his tenure. The Greers, the Dicey Hashimoto's, guys that were just mostly yes men. I thought this coaching staff really needed a clean slate, and the ones they did keep, with the exception of Rick Brunson, I'm very happy about. I think Mike Brown has a chance to install a more offensive-minded identity here. I actually think we're going to be number one offense in the NBA next year, definitely in the East. And it's been reported that lead assistant spot is going to be an offensive coordinator. So some names on the market made sense if you think about the Mike Brown or Worldwide West connection, like Leandro Barbosa from Sacramento, or Jerry Stackhouse, an assistant coach in Golden State with Brown, or Darvin Ham, whose name has been floated. But I think the biggest mistake of Leon Rose, maybe his entire tenure, is not replacing Johnny Bryant when Johnny Bryant went to Cleveland. Promoting Rick Brunson was an optical joke, in my opinion, because giving him that role ensured Tibbs would never be fired midseason, because it means Rick would take over right into the playoffs. So it had to be in the summer to reshuffle the bench properly. Luckily, the sources that I have told me that when Tibbs was fired, Rick Brunson would be retained, but demoted and not the lead assistant anymore, which means you have a lot of options out there. The guys I named, Pablo Prigioni was another one that I really liked, but he's no longer an option staying in Minnesota. But there's some smart guys out there. And between Leon and Worldwide West, those connections, they have a channel to anyone they want to interview. I think youth, offensive acumen, and a bit of dog are crucial characteristics of whoever they hire for that lead assistant role.
All right, you want a little bit of dog there as your lead assistant role. And it's not going to get past me here, Lee. I heard what you said there. You said the Knicks are going to be the number one offense in the league or the East. That was not going to slip past me there. I heard you say that. What makes you so confident there? Because some people will say, well, Lee, new coach and Mike Brown, new system, players have to learn, they've got to adjust, all that stuff. What makes you so confident they can be the number one team still here in the East in terms of offense?
Because his Sacramento Kings were the number one offense in the entire NBA, not just the West. That roster was way more deficient talent-wise than his current roster. You think about the guys on that team that were playing heavy minutes in their rotation, the Malik Monks, the Kevin Huerter, the Keegan Murrays, and no offense to those guys, but they're not the Mikal Bridges, Josh Harts, OG Anunoby, Karl-Anthony Towns, right? They had Sabonis and Fox. To me, Towns and Brunson is superior to that duo. And if you just add in simple actions, I'm talking about more dribble handoff, more curl, more off-ball screen setting, things where motion is constantly being done, and guys are constantly setting picks for each other, whether it's on ball or off ball. There's going to be more scoring opportunities. Get Jalen Brunson off ball. Get guys more higher volume of 3-point shots. Only take high efficiency shots. Don't be last in pace. Don't be number one in ISO or number two. Actually run a modern offense, and it's going to let the everyone's ability will rise simultaneously.
So it's funny you mentioned modern offense, because I know something that you and I have talked about a lot. I would say in the last 2 years or so. We've spoken a lot about, because I used to joke on you and say you were the number one Tom Thibodeau, I don't say hater, but critic, right? And you had critiques of him, and one of the things that you and I really agreed upon was the offense had to modernize. And I do think that Mike Brown coming here to the Knicks, one of the things he has to do is he has to maximize this offense. So if you are right, he has them as the number one offense in the league. I'll even settle for what you said, like the East. That's going to be huge, man. That's going to be huge for this Knicks team. So we'll see. I am excited to see some more DHO, some more off-ball action. I'm very excited to see a little bit more of a modern offense, Lee. I'm with you. We weren't seeing that, so I'm with you on this. So I'm totally with you. Now, in terms of the roster, there's still one veteran minimum spot that is open. So if you're Leon Rose here, are you looking for another big? Are you looking for a veteran wing? Or is it a guard, another ball handler to round out this roster? Which way are you going?
There's only one name I'm interested in.
Ben Simmons?
Heck no.
Okay, I'm just checking. There's some people, some Knicks fans are on the Ben Simmons bandwagon. I said it the other day. I am not on that bandwagon. I just had to check, Lee, make sure that you're okay. All right.
Shout out Uncle Bridges on Twitter, who's been posting every single day until Ben Simmons is signed that he wants Ben Simmons on the Knicks. I respect it. The pros are massive. It's probably the most hit or miss option on the market. But I don't think the man truly loves basketball. I think Landry Shamet really loves basketball, and he loves winning. And picking him is not just for continuity, but it's a sound choice for both sides of the ball. On offense, he's able. That role is going to be like come off curls, come off pin downs, and play make on closeouts. Shamet showed last year he can do that in a minimal capacity to maximum effect. Defensively, we saw him as above average POA defender, above average team defender. He was a rim protector in some opportunities on the pre-switch when he shared minutes with Towns. And most importantly, he was a very strong transition defender. One of the few. Him and Campaign were two of our best transition defenders. So the plans to modernize with motion and dribble handoffs, Shamet's game, to me, mirrors Kevin Huerter's role in Sacramento under Mike Brown, where Huerter thrived in that DHO system with DeMontis Sabonis. And I think Shamet can replicate some of that, as can Deuce McBride, as can Mikal Bridges, with Cat as a hub, leveraging Cat's passion touch and shooting gravity. His playoff performance in Indiana specifically, with Shamet on the floor, the Knicks were plus 22 across 3 games, which was second only to Cat. That just underlines his ability to impact winning in limited minutes.
All right, I like that. Landry Shamet coming back, that wouldn't be a bad move with that last vet minimum spot that the Knicks have there. So last question for me here, Lee. Look, the East, top of the East at least, I'll say is stacked, right? We got some good teams at the top there. With this roster, a healthy Brunson, full training camp ahead, where do you think this Knicks team finishes in the standings if they stay healthy? Because we know health is always a huge factor here. Where do you see this Knicks team finishing in the standings if they are healthy for the 2025-2026 season?
First in the East, 60 wins. Best offense in the NBA, certainly the best offense in the Eastern Conference. And I'll take it a step further. I think with Jalen Brunson leading the charge, he's going to emerge as a top 3 MVP candidate. We've seen him be top 5 with the Knicks. He could damn well win it. I think he could win MVP. I think Deuce McBride could win Most Improved Player buzz. But this leap is all about optimization with the offense. And I think under a reimagined scheme with Mike Brown, it could really change everything, which brings me to my boldest prediction. I believe the Knicks are going to win the NBA championship. Let me tell you what. Let me tell you what it means to me.
Okay.
My pops right now is in New York City for his 50th high school reunion. My birthday's Wednesday. I turned 40 years old.
Happy birthday. Happy early birthday.
Appreciate that, brother. Life is very short, and I've been a Knicks fan now going on 25 years. When my father passes, eventually it's going to happen. The days without him will be sustained through memories, and there's a memory I want more than any other. It's perhaps the memory that I was created for, my inheritance, a shared Knicks championship. He'd have to see 2 before I was a speck in his eye. But I want to know what his tears of happiness look like. I want them staining my shirt. I want the first time I see my dad crying tears of joy to be with me. And I want it to be for our Knicks. I want it to be for each other. That's hope. Which reminds me of one of my favorite stanzas by my poet, Philip Levine, one of the greatest poets in American history. And I'll share it with you to encapsulate what it means to me. My father stood in the warm night air, motionless, staring into the sky. I sat behind him, a boy of 10. He pointed above the hedges at a single bright star. That one is yours, he said. And that's what it means to me.
Man, got some Def Poetry Jam here on New York Got Game. I love it. I'm a big fan of poetry, so I love it. That is kind words. And listen, I think you're not alone on that, Lee. There are a lot of people who their fandom of all sports, but particularly with the Knicks, as we know, we talk about it, right? We talk about how important it is to fans across this city of all different backgrounds, of all different cultures, to share those moments together. This is why we love sports. This is why we cover it. This is why we create content. This is why we watch, for all those reasons. It's about those relationships that you talked about. The one you talked about with your dad, the words you shared are true to many people. Many people, across watching sports. I think a lot of us could think about watching sports with our loved ones and what that means to us, whether they're here or they're not here. So, well said. Enjoy the time you have watching sports with your loved ones. It's a really dope thing to do, and hopefully Lee's prediction is right, and many of you out there that root for the Knicks get to see them win the championship this year. You made a lot of predictions here, Lee. A lot of predictions here. Number 1 offense in the league. Okay. You got Jalen Brunson as a top 3 MVP candidate, possibly doing it. Deuce McBride is candidate for most improved player of the year. I really like that pick. That's a really good pick. And you predict the Knicks to win it all. You also said 60 wins for the Knicks. I like it. I know the fans are going to like it. So we'll see how it all shakes it out. That is Lee Escobado. Check him out on the Knick of Time Show. Shout out to the Knick of Time Show crew. They do a great job there. Lee, I always appreciate you coming on and rocking with me. We will talk down the road and talk some more Knicks hoops soon. And you know this, last thing I'll say before we go. If your predictions aren't right, they're going to come for you. You know some people are out here keeping receipts. We know this.
Not only do I love the smoke, I look out for it. So please bring it. You know where to find me on Twitter.
There we go. Lee's running up that chimney looking for the smoke. Lee, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Double blessings to you, not just as a friend, but as a mentor. Appreciate you, Dexter.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
The Knicks are on fire!
All right, so the conversation will continue with the Knicks into the month of August. We'll see what they do with that final roster spot. And we'll have some more fun things to talk about with the Knickerbockers as we move over the next couple of months. And before you know it, training camp will be here. As far as the Liberty go, they wrapped up their 8-game homestand on Saturday, and that ended with a loss to the Los Angeles Sparks. However, the Liberty went 6-2 on the homestand, so pretty strong. They had won 5 in a row before that loss, and now they head out on a 4-game road trip where they'll play at Dallas, at Minnesota. That's going to be a big one on Wednesday, and then back-to-back games against the Connecticut Sun up in Connecticut. So we'll see how the Liberty do. They also dodged a major bullet. Breonna Stewart got injured in the first quarter of their game against the Sparks. She didn't return in that one, but Liberty said there was no structural damage to her leg. She will be fine. She's just going to recover. We don't know when she'll return, but she should be fine. I would assume she misses the game against the Lynx on Wednesday, so that'll be a tough task for the Liberty in that one. But right now, Stewie has the ability to get healthy as the Liberty move forward. That's going to do it for this edition of New York Got Game. Special thanks to my guest, Lee Escobado. Predictions. We'll see if all those come through. Also got to thank the people that make this show look good. Producer, Erica Block. Associate producer, Nick Federico. Editor, Eddie Guerrero. And production assistant, Tommy Cohen. I'm Dexter Henry. We'll catch you next time on New York Got Game.
And thanks for watching New York Got Game. Boom shakalaka.